So, is everyone ready?
I wouldn't mind if someone could stream it for me. I can still roll just in the Discord, but
Can probably do so.
Yeah, I could as well, sorry.
Oh, you're good, you're good. I was just getting back over to it.
When we played last, you fought a skirmish on the mountain peak of Mount Ara.
Skirmish!
By the dwarven forces of the city of Hytir. You won a deadly fight, losing only a few of the dwarves fighting alongside you, and you managed to prevent the planar gate at the top of the mountain from opening. As the ancient portal closed, cutting off the power the Phoenix relied upon, the Sapphire Firebird too was brought low. And here we begin today's session, as the aftermath of the combat unfolds. The dwarves before you, carefully laying down their arms, begin to spread out, some tending to their wounds, some to those of others. Despite the victory, the mood following the Phoenix defeat is a somewhat solemn one. The dwarven horn far behind the lines rings out once again in two short blasts, and more dwarves appear. A rearguard, medics and mages pull the fallen dwarves from the snow, administering aid, casting spells where they can. You, closest to the fallen monsters, notice a sudden change to the mountainous corpses of these ancient beasts. The Skybreaker, the wolves, as well as the bear's corpse move. Immediately you are on alert until you notice that there is fur dissolving into dust, reptile skin turning a blackened color before falling apart as shreds stretched over bones. The bodies of these creatures seem to crumble before your eyes until only bones remain, and even those seemingly decay. The Skybreaker's massive skeleton partially dissolves, leaving decayed and shattered bones that look more akin to fossilized remains than bones. Both the Garm Wolf and the bear leave behind a mound of heavy aged bones, but you take notice that the bear's colossal head too crumbles to dust, carried away by the wind. Strangely, the corpses of the Chinvanogs remain untouched, leaving frozen mountains of fur where they fell.
Evelyn's gonna make her way over to Vince after and collected her prize.
I still want to check the teeth pile, the bone piles for teeth.
Yeah, any salvageable teeth from the dog.
You find an ample supply of teeth from the Garm. Even from the Skybreaker, there is something that is akin to teeth left. It's more protrusions from its massive beak, not really singular teeth, but you could certainly break off some of these protrusions.
Sure.
Once I get to Vint, I would like to dispel magic on the seeming spell.
Okay. With a almost sort of visual stutter, the form of the wind returns, almost smaller looking, but still colossal,
How dare.
a skeleton of bones.
Give me my wind back. Take your dwarven statue. What? Gonna hang out on his shoulder for a minute and take a breather.
Uh, after collecting teeth. Hmm. Have any of the dwarves gone up to the portal, like the engineers or anything, to investigate further?
You see, as they sort of spread out, they also begin moving further out. First reaching, of course, the corpses of the Ichenbanuks and the mountains of bones you've already taken your prize from, examining them for a short moment before carrying on. You see at the center of where the dwarves are situated, as the wounded survivors gather and begin to retreat towards the city, left behind are the dwarves met with an early death, being assembled in rows as the mages tend to rituals. One of the dwarves of the rear guard, a large horn at his side, takes vigil near the fallen dwarves, readying a harp and bow, and begins to play a somber melody. And King Thorley, surrounded by his silver shimmering guards, also remains, watching over the procedure. After several moments of quiet, he walks past them and begins moving towards you, who is currently closer. His guard immediately follows suit, but as he reaches the edge of battle, he waves them off, even as they still follow a little further. They begin to fall behind.
Does this seem like an invitation to walk up privately? Or does it seem like he's doing a...
He throws you this sort of short glance before you begin a little bit further.
Okay, I will stand like... Close enough he can talk to me if he wants to.
21 Dwaraskar dead, 5 resurrectable, 36 wounded, all threats destroyed, including some that had caused significant trouble in the past. I would say you proved metal today in Dwaraskar, considering the circumstance.
It was certainly a tough fight and costly victory.
You are certainly champions, perhaps not leaders, but success was all that was asked of the mason and the wall held. The remains of the Sixth Forest will take care of the wounded, take care of the dead. I have no expectations of you to witness their funeral rite, but tonight there will be a feast for the fallen. Out of respect, you should attend.
Of course.
Before then, we should talk. While I prefer my chambers, I make no polish for decorum. Let's talk. Over by the gate.
And I will follow your lead.
Do the rest of you follow?
Yeah, I don't trust that situation well enough. I'm gonna have Vince just... Oh, no, they're gonna freak out. I'll have Vince kind of, like, mount up, like, over here-ish. And then I'm gonna just fly over. so I can
Vit
see them.
charges the king.
The Thoric gestures at the mithril-clad dwarves who stay behind as he treks towards the stone structure. As he arrives, he lays his hand on the stone, looking up at the inactive gate.
Of all planar gateways in the world, Mount Aros had to have the one I'd agree with least.
Where does it lead?
The elemental plane of air. But let us talk then, bare as the ice. Have you considered yet the remaining price?
Your brother's freedom. Yes, you have to realize, like, when we are not on the Council of Polythreme, so
I understand. But for this there is no room for negotiation. Cynthia's freedom is no personal request. Consider this. Why do you think only one division of dwarves accompanied you on Mount Aros?
I presume the others are guarding your kingdom against other threats.
Out of 13 divisions of our army, only 3 remained here. The first holds high tier as we speak. The 6th stood under your command, and the 4th was destroyed by the stranger that came before you. 3. Barely enough. The army is out there.
He pensively turns away from the structure, looking past you down the mountain slope. Through the ice, snow, and wind, you cannot see at all beyond the peak, but you remember the view you had below the cloud line of the land surrounding the mountain.
Fighting for our survival. But the Black Creep is unstoppable. Every inch we gain costs a dwarven life. Every inch lost, a dozen more. In your time in the underground, around here, have you seen any of those Indwarasker fire breathing? The,
We have.
cleansers?
Yeah, sort of the flame, whatnot. Yes, there's a camp down below, I don't know, was it maybe a week back?
The only
a little
work
more.
they do is cutting us from the body like an excised wound. Of course, I blame them not. We're all taking care of our own. But our world up here is shrinking. The old empire is gone, only high tier remain. The ruin of the world is closing in on our homes, and there is no one here left to stop them. There is no one coming for us. We need Cynthia if we're to survive. I am not the true king, though the Dwaraskers seem to disagree. I hold an empty throne for the one person capable of reigniting our fires. I am Cynthia's successor, not by choice. Without the revival of his fire-breather dwarfs, we may as well turn over and die. Perhaps there is your motivation. Perhaps it is the survival of a people. And if there is only the worth of material to you, consider this. 30,000 grams of mithra is enough to supply arms to an army numbering 1,000, to build engines of war. Even if it wasn't a state of wartime, when there was ample trade, the worth of this mithra is more than 300,000 platinum, 3 million gold. Enjoy the festivities tonight. They are owed to those who can no longer enjoy them. Mull over your thoughts and reach an answer.
We certainly will, since we're speaking plainly, I have a question as far as... You were clearly not happy to see us, as, temporary employees, shall we say, of Vadar. What did he promise you for the mithril previously?
There was never an direct agreement. I was promised treasures worth the mithril. And we know that even if he is somewhat of a snake, Vidar does keep his word. In peaceful times, perhaps without the blight, I assume it would have been a simple trade of magical weaponry, items, treasures. But there is no need of that now.
I only ask is, have you not made this request of him before? Regarding your brother.
There was no dire need of him before like this. And I know that before, whatever we would have asked of the Cynthia's release, they would not have considered.
Hmm. I'm gonna look back at
It would
Evelyn
seem
and
to me
Soleil.
The king already begins to sort of slowly walk away.
that Vidar sending you here is desperate. Perhaps more so than we.
I'm
And
just.
You're smoking. Perhaps you should take care of that.
Evelyn. You
Oh.
notice in tiny
Ah.
wisps, as if from a machine, puffs of black smoke leak from the opening of your backpack.
Wonderful. I will wait until just after he's gone. Are there any other dwarves currently around us?
Not current, well, except for
That dead corpse. I'm not talking about the corpse.
I guess Hux.
not currently.
He
but there
technically got
is-
shunted, like, doop, outside of the...
I guess Hux is a
Still-
dwarf.
Outside
I
of that.
suppose so, yeah. There
Oh,
is
yeah.
still
Yeah.
quite a heavy wind blowing along the road.
I will have Vince walk over to kind of crouch almost behind us, and then I will move to pull the skull. I'm assuming it's the skull. Out of my bag.
I thought it was an egg.
No, I'm assuming this is well, sorry, does this look like the same stuff that we've had from Vidar before?
It does.
Yeah,
Oh.
pull the skull out of my bag.
I thought the Phoenix was coming back, I'm not gonna lie. I was like,
He was ready. Like before, black smoke pours from the necrotech skull's eyes and mouth. At first, like a waterfall dispersing onto the ground, carried off by the wind. But then, like a stalled engine, the smoke sputters and rises. It no longer streams from the anchor in a clear, uninterrupted stream. It flows out in shreds, like it would when the connection faded in the past. For several seconds, shreds of smoke belch out, rising into the air and scattering as if unable to form. Until, slowly, the wisps of smoke slow in their ascent, hanging in place and connecting. And finally a form begins to move within the patchwork of shreds. You hear me? Vidar's face forms in this thin veil of black. There, that should work. For now. Evelyn,
Vidar.
there was a surge of magic from the planar gateway. Have you arrived in Hytir?
As we we were closing the planar gateway up here after a bit of a situation.
What happened?
There are some phoenix and large birds that I'm unfamiliar with. Massive in size that came through and were raising undead beasts. I think it might have had to do with one of our dark strangers passing through this way.
There were multiple surges on old planar gateways. Been trying to look into the matter when the last surge, the planar gateway, to the plane of air, was a surge and then silence. That must have been your doing.
Yes, I'm assuming so.
There were surges from all of them? I mean, like when?
Have done extraordinary work getting here. But this anchor will not remain stable for very long. The anchor is temporary and not as strong as... You've spoken to the court.
We
What
have.
about the Mithra?
They will only give us the mithril after we assisted in this situation, and they want the release of Githinzir.
You will repeat that.
I am pronouncing it correctly, right?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Cynthia.
Yeah. Githinzir. They want the release of Githinzir for the mithril.
Cynthia. Of course. There's a long silence following, as whiffs of smoke separate and vanish in the wind.
Let's see if he's still alive.
For a moment, you're unsure if the connection broke before Vidar speaks back up. It could work. I did not even consider we'll have to. Perhaps once we find the Archaeon. Thorlik is smarter than I ever gave him credit for. The price is steep, and not in value, but in work and favors. Agree to the terms. We need the Mithra, and in the future, a friendly relationship with Gzinthir can only come to our benefit. There is much more I would like to talk about, but we are short on time. So please listen closely. This ago, when travel was much less interrupted, I placed a line of anchors throughout the mountain chain. Thorleg has the key. There is a circle of teleportation. A few of the anchors have likely broken. You'll need Ingvar to If for any reason Thorleg tries to keep you from the circle, do not let them. That is your way back. Ensure you have the Mithra. The circle is one way, single use. You're not going to be able to come back, not for a while. If it works, you'll end up in the mountains near Polythreme. It's a short trek from there, and you can contact me again through sending. If it does not work, prepare for a long journey. Try to contact you again in 3 days. The connection breaks faster than any time before. With a single sputter of smoke, the cloud vanishes. And you are not entirely sure if the loss of connection was voluntary.
Frustratedly, put the skull back in my her bag. Oh, Fred, can I put something in your bag real quick?
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to pull what I can see is the phoenix egg, and move to put it in Red's bag.
Right?
I don't know if they can see it because I think it was invisible without.
Well, I like open my bag and like
yeah, you see
you've got your hands
Evelyn
apart,
sort
and
of
I'm like,
with both hands just put something like air in your bag. You don't see anything.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Right.
you're gonna have to be the one to get that back out because I can't even think of the right thing. Okay, all right,
Oh, right. Yeah, no problem.
okay.
Beggar. So that was it?
Do I need to
Ing?
know what that was, or do I not need to know?
No, it's just something I wanted to mess around with later. Probably not in this setting.
Okay.
Beggar, was it Inger? Inger?
Ingvar.
Person? Ingvar?
Ingvar.
It's one of the engineer master,
Ah.
He's the one
who no one listened to.
put the sieving on.
Oh, that
I
word. Ugh. Noted.
figure you'll remember that name.
Yep.
The Book of Grudges grows.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the dwarf here? So I guess we're agreeing.
Right, so it sounds like potentially you might have a bit of an issue with this method of transportation.
When is there not an issue with our methods of transportation?
I mean, as long as it's not 1 year of walking, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Fair. Evelyn will move to go settle back on Vince's shoulder. Presumably we should head back, get cleaned up, and be prepared to go to this feast and give our answer later on.
Soleil will keep following Ablin, trying to hold up the professional bodyguard stance, but you can all see his stance is wavering, like he's super exhausted and
Mhm.
spent.
Also, I feel like we should get an apology. Just
I
me?
think it's a lot to ask of this whole situation, and then to also ask for more when we, saved them. But that's just my point of view. At least a word of thanks probably would have been great. Does Hux come along as well?
Yeah.
Out of character, what did the king's brother do again to get captured? Did they like fight Polythreme or something before?
We don't know.
We don't know. Okay, good. I wasn't sure if it was mentioned or not.
No, which is the entire problem that Ellen has had with the releasing this
Yeah.
person.
This is the entire problem we've had with Vidar in general.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Why?
I don't know what you mean.
Look,
No. But that makes perfect sense.
Soleil wasn't even complaining this time. He was too tired to like say the same shit all over again.
Yeah.
Obviously, there wasn't enough
Lines
time.
of dwarves sort of hurrying back and forth, some carrying wounded on stretchers, some slowly carrying what you assume is the fallen wrapped in linen. You make your way back to the city of Haitier.
We went up there and pushed out like morning into midday. Is that about right?
Yes, about. There was a short break in between, so it's probably beyond noon at this point. Early afternoon.
Evelyn will at least be gracious enough to make Vint head back to the warehouse instead of just consistently following her around.
Do you
Like,
go
going with
them, or do you
yeah,
just
going
send them?
going with Vint.
Okay.
But like, she's not going to just. Obviously, they're going to go through town, and she's absolutely smug about that. But like to get to the warehouse, she's going to take the most direct route that she recalls. But she will at least go back to keeping Vint in the warehouse.
As
versus-
you arrive at the gates,
Mm-hmm.
there's a definite hesitation from the guard. Unlike before, whenever you were being escorted, where the gates just sort of opened as you arrived and closed behind you, there's this moment of where you're just standing in front of the gate as the dwarves murmur amongst themselves. But inevitably, each time the gates do open to let you pass. The murmuring, of course, continues from whichever civilian catches your glance, even as there are forces of dwarves, some wounded, some not, moving throughout the city, and the news of what happened on the mountain begin to spread. There is a definite perimeter around Vint that seems to magically clear wherever he goes.
Perfect. We'll head back to the warehouse first.
As soon as you arrive near the docks, the busy going about almost immediately ceases. At least the few dwarves around the warehouse immediately drop whatever they're doing and pull open the gate. Likely eager to close the gate again once he's inside.
Yeah. Move and place him in there. Give him similar instructions as what I gave him before.
Mm-hmm.
And, right, so I head back to where we were staying and get cleaned up, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're all pretty beat.
Oh yeah.
I could take a bite to eat and a little bit of a nap.
I'm hungry too.
How many did I say? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I think we just, go recover.
Okay. After dropping off Vint at the warehouse, you return towards the palace district and the inn at the edge of the road where you had stayed the night before.
Head in. And just Evelyn's kind of aiming to head straight to her room to kind of patch her wounds and heal up a bit and get cleaned up.
As soon as you open the door, the dwarf behind the counter sort of looking at you with concern. Are you quite all right?
No, but
Do
I
you
guess there are people that
require
are
any
worse.
aid?
Yeah, food.
A hot bath.
Right, an assortment of fruit, perhaps a baked fish or two.
Fish sounds great.
There is a bath at the end of the hall. You'll have to leave it running for a while, and it turns warm. There is also a small oven in there, and wood if you wanted to add another fire.
Soleil is already on the way.
I'll send someone with the would you like to eat in the bath as well, sir?
Yep! He screams from the other side of the hallway.
That sounds like a good idea, to be honest. I had
The
down the
dwarf
hall
behind
as
the
well.
counter immediately sort of hurries around the counter, vanishing in one of the many hallways leading from the room. And in the distance, you can sort of hear him shout a couple of orders before they return. Sit at the counter.
Yeah, I'm gonna start and get the water running. Make it hot as quickly as possible.
Yeah, you let the water run through the bath, and eventually, after a while, it starts to turn warm. It's not exactly hot, but it is warm.
Good enough. Jumping in there as soon as it feels great.
It probably
After-
takes a minute or two to fill, but
That's
as soon
fine.
as it does. Immediately as you jump in, there's this sort of immediate staining of the water as caked blood, dirt, and snow begin to melt off of you.
After actually patching my wounds, I was also going to join in. So they're just walking in.
That's fine.
Just jumping in. Probably with his clothes.
Nice.
Laundry and cleaning yourself all at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert, but this is highly unsanitary.
So they also probably took the teeth in there to clean them.
Oh, God.
I was just gonna stay in her room and take care of
The
her wounds
teeth.
and clean herself up.
The teeth are surprisingly clean. They seem old and weathered through time.
Okay, then probably
Almost
not
a little
cleaning
bit
them.
porous. The most that is on there is a few stains of sort of mold or moss that may have at some point began to grow on it, but then long died in the cold.
I guess no washing needed, so I'm leaving them out of the water.
There are definitely no organic remains on those ones.
Yeah, I'm just gonna lean back as far as I can into the water until my mouth is halfway underwater and I start just making bubbles and just relax.
Oh.
And I'm gonna get out.
Yep, bubbles with my mouth, you know.
No, I know. It's just you've got bloody, dirty
Bloody, muddy water, yeah.
That's fine.
and you're blowing bubbles in it.
That's fine. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
I mean, you also like were constantly tangoing with a three-headed dog, so it probably smells like dog water too.
That's a bit of a smell.
It cannot smell worse than it already was. Yeah, that's why I also have to get my head and mouth underwater to wash out all the stink. It's clinging to my fur.
Makes sense.
Do you have a brush? I think I need a brush. Ah, I'm gonna call this guy to also bring me a brush. As soon as he brings the food.
A couple of minutes after you began bathing, if you're still in the bath,
Oh yeah,
Um,
this is gonna take a while.
the door opens just a slight bit and there is a knock. Sorry, would you like to receive your food?
Yeah, please come in.
The dwarf waddles in and he's got this large platter with one fish on it, but it is a very large one. It's clearly baked and marinated, and he sort of almost awkwardly places it on the edge of this sunken-in stone bath, placing a couple of plates and a few forks beside it, and leaving next to it all this small basket filled with various food.
Thank
Would
you.
there be anything else?
I could really need a brush, please.
Brush for
And
hair, I presume?
Soleil just stands up and points at his fur. That is like, he looks like the wet cat, you know.
Stand up, sort of, almost flinches back a little bit. Of course, right away. Covers off, and a couple of seconds later, you hear him rummaging in the distance and come back with a large brush.
In the meantime, I start like putting food on my plate because I'm freaking hungry.
Yeah, same. I won't even take a plate. I'll just eat out of the from the plate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Red, look. At least I'm not the one with the least table manners anymore.
I know, right? That's the thing.
What do you mean?
Nothing.
To be fair, there isn't a table in here.
True.
As Huxley like rips apart a few pieces of this fish, it's probably due
That's
to,
my finger.
the very slow, due to not being very slow and methodical. Probably quite a few fish bones in there. You just hear the crunching as Huxley carefully just munches.
Down the boat.
Okay, I'm gonna go relax from my relaxing. You all have a good time.
I'm gonna eat something and afterwards I'm gonna lay back again. And enjoy the warmth of water.
I'll head back to my room after having washed off and maybe. If it helped. I don't know.
I want to at least
Eventually,
spend a short rest
yeah.
in this bath.
There is a little bit of a flow through from the bath. And there's quite a large amount of water in it, so even as you don't feel exactly fully clean just having seen the water, it is miles better than before you stepped into the water.
Are there towels?
Yep.
Okay. So it's gonna start slowly drying up. Which is gonna take a while. And also waiting for the brush to arrive, so...
Oh, the brush already arrived.
Oh yeah, okay, good. Then he's gonna take care of that freaking tangled mess that is his fur right now, probably, after all this wandering through the underground and not really being able to take care of anything.
Mhm.
It's about time.
Is there anything else you guys do as you rest before evening rolls around?
Theoretically, we get a short rest, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Soleil's just angry with himself that he didn't ask Vidar, even though Vidar didn't have time. If he found out anything about the slip, which he wanted to do, but conveniently I don't have time, the anchor, blah blah blah. Soleil's just thinking about this stuff, but not really saying anything while brushing.
Sorry, I'm getting another call.
Yeah, exactly that's how I felt.
I'm going into a tunnel because I built a tunnel.
That's exactly how I felt.
I get terrible reception in this vault. Yeah.
Typical Vidar.
Typical Vidar. I suppose Rhett would be nice and compose something for the fallen dwarves. But I didn't think about it, so I don't have anything written.
Nobody thinks about the fallen dwarf.
Oh yeah, did they tell us when it's gonna be? Like in the evening or the next
They
day? Or
The evening.
evening. Okay.
Yeah, sure, I'll swing by the desk and ask the attendant if he knows when such a thing would normally be held and where.
Well, you were giving no particular instruction. It is custom that someone should come and fetch you. It would likely be late evening.
Alright, I guess I will wait for someone to fetch us then.
If there's time enough, I guess Soleil would go to sleep at some point because he really needs it.
Okay, so you all wait until the evening.
Yeah, I'll probably dress back into like the nicer clothing she'd worn previously. For eventually whenever the feast.
Does anyone else do that?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, Soleil will snap his finger and will just like look like it.
Hux is only changing because his other clothes are still wet.
I wonder how that happened.
Hang them up to dry.
Conveniently in the right clothes. Accidentally.
Then as evening rolls around, you hear a knock on the door. The first door, which I believe is Evelyn's.
I think it's technically Rhett's. But I don't mind if it's Evelyn's.
Then it's Red.
I think Rhett was the,
Right, yeah, I think so.
I should have written it down.
I wanna say it was Rhett, Evelyn, Soleil, Hux.
Oh, you caught me in the hallway, messenger. Person. Oh, it's the advisor. You're not just a messenger, sorry.
You see the small advisor walk up to you, and for a moment he just sort of looks you up and down. I see you decided to change. That's good. You know, first impressions are already made. It is an informal event, despite its traditional nature, but it never hurts.
I like to show respect to the dead.
That is very civilized. Are the rest of your party ready to leave?
We should be. We can go knock on the doors and gather everybody up.
I will wait here until you gather your compatriots.
Gather, compatriots.
Did we get short rest, long rest? What happened here?
You did get a short rest. You theoretically would have had 2 to 3 hours easily.
That's nice. I'm gonna roll some hit die.
I had to use up almost all my hit die to get back to.
By the way, do we already have the level 14 hit die or still level 13 hit die? Because we
I think
didn't
level
actually
13.
leveled up.
You technically have not had a long rest.
Okay, then 13 hit die, just in case I need them.
But I'm also not gonna be a hardest about it.
I mean, and hopefully it doesn't matter anyway. Let's see. I should just... that is an 8. I should just roll 12 at once. So many dice. Still not great, but at least feeling better. Healed for 59.
Not bad.
So yeah, I'm still far away from being full health. But definitely looking much better. So-
How far away?
A bath and a nap is all we need sometimes.
Yeah, I think we'll join up.
Okay. As soon as you're done getting ready, cleaning up, you follow the small advisor to the feast. As you follow, he leads you not towards the palace as expected. Instead, he leads you through a gate that previously had remained closed to you. The district he brings you to is much like the place surrounding the palace itself. There are large, elaborate mansions cut from stone and marble that stretch along an immaculate cobble street. At the center, a large building, one of the largest in the city, surrounded by statues and carvings of various dwarves. He stops, walking towards an entrance at the building's side, which currently is flanked by 2 members of the mithril-clad royal guard. A staircase leads down to a level below the street, carved into the rock. You pass by several gates, and although the carvings of dwarves along the tunnel you follow are ornate and intricate, the structure seems far removed from the overt, blinding splendor of the palace. The tunnels and halls seem royal, but in a much more traditional sense. Instead of the mithril in the shimmering hall, or the black stone in the throne room, gold seemed to be the choice of decadence as this structure was built. At the end of the tunnel, you enter a large hall. Voices and sounds of a festive atmosphere immediately surround you, and as you step into view of the assembled dwarves, a general row of acknowledgement echoes from the attendees. The hall itself shines brightly in the clear light of mithril once again. There is a large mithril table with mithril chairs and mithril plates that shimmers at the center of the feast. As mugs and glasses clink in murmured toast, at the end of the hall, the king rises from his seat.
I don't mean this in a racist way, but all of these dwarves look alike.
Look, the funny part really is I really had to force myself to not say this. And you just blurted it out.
Stand-ins, okay?
It made me laugh.
But I like that we basically have 100% the way, is it the same way of thinking?
I had less prep today, okay?
No, it's fine. It made me laugh, and I wanted to be a jerk.
If you had found a picture for each and every single one of them,
yeah,
I
those
would
are
have.
ridiculous.
I would
every
have.
single one.
Yeah, I was about to say. I would have called you like the god of preparing. Like this is so much work for not
For
much of an
sure.
effect.
As the king rises and looks around, almost on its own, the atmosphere dies down and silence spreads in the room.
We welcome and toast the Indwaraskar, almost dwarves themselves. Their part in our victory was no small feat, and the dead are as grateful as the survivors. We remember today the dwarves that gave their suffering and sacrifice so that we come together in the halls of our forebears, to whom they return buried in stone to feast alongside. Tyr Kras, Reckon Kras.
The Hall of Dwarf repeats the last phrase of Dwarven. Tyr Kras, Reckon Kras. The meaning of which, to those who understand Dwarven and Huxley of course, means City of Stone, Hearts of Stone. As he finishes this very short speech, the advisor looks at you almost expectantly.
I'm gonna repeat after them.
Yes.
The feast's opening is not usually spoken in common. It's a sign of respect from he who sits the throne of stone. You should be grateful. Now, come, your seats are at the table in front of His Majesty.
Follow.
He leads you to the 4 seats right at the center.
Why do I look like Soleil? I want to look like Blue Tiger.
Yeah. Wait, is this the Hux or is it the dwarf Hux?
He would say as a dwarf.
Last night I grabbed a couple of
Oh, it's fine.
Oh, nice.
Outrageous.
Outrageous.
I have to stay in bodyguard form, so I have to look like Blue Tiger.
So does it seem like we were expected to give remarks?
As you arrive at your places, and as I'm sure Huxley and Soleil already sits down, so does the king. And as he does, almost instantly, as if a signal was given, the atmosphere begins to be filled with voices again, everyone starting to talk amongst themselves, and everyone beginning to grab food and drink.
What do they drink? Is it wine or more ale or?
You see several bottles arrayed around the tables. There are what looks like spirits, some that look like wine, but you see in the larger mugs that are already at your places, there is definitely beer, judging from this foam crown that sits at the top.
So it looks like he really would enjoy that beer right now. But then he looks to Ablin and feels like this would totally not be bodyguard behavior to get drunk, so he will keep his calm and just try and still be professional.
Out of curiosity, are there fruits being served at this feast as well?
You do not see any immediately on the table, but as you came in, you saw on the sides, especially as you would have been led around, there is a large array of fruit on the side, as well as a variety of dessert.
I was just curious, based on where they were with fruit, like if that was part of the.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
scarcity of resources that you had experienced so far in the city, just from the sort of prices. As you sit here, it seems completely absent. The only thing you really notice is an absence of red meat. There are smaller portions of it, but there are none in these large quantities as you would find these giant fowls and fish that are arrayed on the larger plains.
Nice. Evan will go about eating bit by bit and at least sipping the beer, even though she's not a large consumer of ale herself. She'll at least be polite enough to have like, I've done all the correct things of like tasting the right things that I'm supposed to be polite.
So what you're saying is you're a small consumer. Yeah.
So bad.
Saleh will make the illusion because he doesn't really wear the mask under the illusion right now because he wants to eat. He will make the illusion look like the mask's mouth slowly opens a little bit so I could shove some food in there, and I will definitely concentrate on the fish.
As
Tastes really good
dwarves
down here.
around you feast and toast the fallen, even as the king eats, you notice that his eyes do not waver from you.
Yeah. Can I wink?
You just wink at him.
He just watching us.
He's expecting an answer, I think, but I don't know
Yeah.
if this is the proper decorum to answer that.
Exactly.
With a
The
wink.
alloy forges run hot as we speak. We began as soon as the rites were finished on the mountain. Is that not the right, Thorin?
This time, finally, he looks to someone else, to your left, and you just hear a faint.
What? The forges Garan Mithres. Yes, forges running now.
Almost apologetically, the advisor leans over a little bit. Not all Dwaraskar are so well spoken in worse languages. You'll forgive them.
Naturally.
Anyway, your shipment would be ready come the morning.
We
I do not
have
mean to press you, man. You given it any thought?
and we agree to the set terms.
Ha!
You see him just sort of almost slam both his hands on the table. There's a silence from the rest of the dwarves as they almost expect him to say something to them. But as he just takes a long sip of his mug, they return to what they were doing before.
Good, good. Then ready in the morning, and we're going to send a caller with you.
The woman to the king's left almost chokes on her food, coughing.
I trust your intent in Dwaraskar, some of you, but your employer is another matter entirely. A constant reminder would serve him well.
You're You're sending me away from High Tier, Uncle. Why?
In 4 years, you've never stopped complaining about feeling trapped. Here is your chance. Fly and prove yourself. You are Kasinthir Dottir, and these in Dwaraskar are going to help return your father to us.
And you would believe that so surely?
All the more reason to send you. There is a circle Vidar left in the mountains on the southern side. It was intended for the metal to transfer over. I am unaware if the circle will work for you too. Ingvar can take a look at the circle. Makalar will fetch you in the morning with the metal.
I will?
Yes, in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
He's right, about Vidar. It is a good idea.
For the rest of the evening, the king seems a lot happier than he was before. Somewhat more freely now, munching on the food in front of him. The opposite is true for the woman on his right, who seems to be eating a little bit less than before.
When it's appropriate, like if there's music and toasts and whatnot, Brett will do his thing.
Okay.
Give his ode to the brave dead.
Would you like to give me a performance check?
Sure. Uh, 29.
Jesus fucking Christ. Throughout the evening there is music, but there isn't any song that particularly changes the atmosphere of the dwarves eating and general festivities until you sort of, in the middle of it all, begin to play your song. What kind of melody do you play?
So it starts very slow and somber, and then it builds to like a crescendo of battle.
As the
And that's where
somber,
kind of
as
the-
the more somber start of your melody begins, there's still the sort of rowdiness of the dwarves overshadowing it at the beginning, but very quickly you notice that things get more quiet. And as they notice that one of you is playing, there's almost silence as you reach this midsection when the crescendo starts building.
And so it will be a very strong battle theme with this crescendo, but then it like cuts off sharply, like representing the sharpness of death, and then I'll end with their restatement of City of Stone, Hearts of Stone, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
City of Stone, Hearts of Stone, yeah.
As there's this sudden cut after the crescendo, there is this moment of just absolute silence as you recite the words. And as you do, and the dwarves come to the understanding that this was sort of this sharp ending to the song, there is just this wave of drumming of mugs, glasses, and plates on a metal table that rings throughout the hall.
I will take my bow, but leave it at that.
As you return to the table, you see that even among the nobles there are plenty, even the king, who join in on the applause.
It was quite good, Brett, as always.
Thanks.
You play well. Do you lyricize well?
At times.
Perhaps tale of high tier spreads throughout the land again. Perhaps we will not entirely be forgotten.
Oh, I should hope not. I'll do what I can. We can continue to feast a little bit. But if there is a convenient moment that doesn't, so the king's just like so far away across the table. If there's a convenient moment to speak to him more one-on-one, I would look for that opportunity.
You remain at the feast for probably an hour before slowly but surely dwarves begin to leave. The atmosphere kind of grows more quiet. Even the music sort of follows suit and gets a little bit more silent. A couple of the dwarves begin to leave, and as in general seats go empty, some of the dwarves move around to talk with others. You'd wager that as, you know, things are slowly coming to an end, this would probably be your best opportunity to approach the king.
So first of all, very glad to help. And now that we understand the severity of the situation, what's at stake, I very much hope that we can for you, brother.
I have no doubt it is a momentous task. Xynthir is quite a momentous person himself.
Mm-hmm. And anything that you could tell us about him that would be useful in securing his release would be, of course, very appreciated.
Well, it is not likely talked about a lot. He and his fire breathers, so... Do you know the large forest of mammoth trees to the south?
By reputation, I don't think I've been through it personally.
Well, it was the Xynthir and his fire breathers who burned it down. This was in the early days, before the blight really took hold, but I would say that, considering things, he must have had quite a bit of foresight. Well, some of Polythreme didn't see it that way, nor did the mages. There were people living there. And, well, Xynthir was rightfully at the time apprehended and willingly, before any skirmishes would break out, so greater protest, went with them willingly.
Oh. Do you think he might have had foresight on the blight and tried
Well,
to
I
cut it off?
never had the opportunity to ask him. The blight appeared a couple of years after his imprisonment.
Huh.
But him being a fire breather and all, there is no telling, perhaps he knew.
We could certainly imply it, at least, to our benefit. Alright, well, yeah, that's helpful. Complete change the subject here, but since we're being practical and you seem a practical soul, there was one other question I had. I have heard, through tales and whatnot, that you once brought down a storm giant. A giant, perhaps?
Well, speaking of Xynthir, should you mention him, there is a reason he is High King, or was. And there is a reason he is the hero of all dwarves in attendance.
There's a general murmuring from those dwarves who are left, just sort of in agreement.
It was, in fact, Xynthir, in his younger days, who brought down Aros, giving the mountain its name. And yes, it was a cloud giant. A few of those came in back then through the planar gateway.
That makes
Not
sense.
many of them stayed. I think some realized quickly that, well, big as they are a threat. One of them probably thought he could make that a reality. Lord over the mountain and all his subjects underneath. Didn't last very long for him.
Impressive. If the rest of this rumor is true, you still have the gem. That
Of
forms
course,
core and soul.
its heart
Yes.
rests above the throne.
Oh,
It's awfully bright, but it is very beautiful to look at.
that's what that was. Uh-huh. As it happens, that would be an incredibly useful thing to us, as we have a way to practically incorporate it into a legendary magical item that we've been constructing.
You what? You dare? From your rights.
It would be only fair to then
One
bring it to
remaining dwarf
Kazinthia
noble. He
to
looks in shock.
let him wear it, right? If he brought it down, I mean, it makes sense for
want
him to help him
The
out. right?
Cloud Giant's heart. What, the entire thing?
Yep.
Does it take the entire thing? I'm trying to look back at what we had.
I feel like an artificer, you could give me a roll for that.
Sure. I'm assuming I can overhear this part of the conversation.
Unless Red is whispering.
I mean, there was just a huge gasp, so you were literally like, what did he just say? No, I'm not whispering. No.
That's a natural 20.
Ooh.
As an artificer, you probably would have studied something as, even though it is, an extremely rare item, there are less rare versions of it. So the way to craft it is somewhat commonly known. Especially considering some of the larger giants. You don't need the entire heart of it. There are many instances of you carving a piece to fit the belt to evoke its magic. You do know that with cloud giants and storm giants, it is incredibly hard to create the item itself. But in terms of how much you need of the gem, probably only enough to fit it into the belt.
So like a fist size, kind of, would be it.
Yeah.
And the gem that we saw was massive, correct?
It was bigger than the throne.
Yeah. Then she'll interject on Rhett's behalf. Just kind of holding like a cup. No, for what he's asking for, it wouldn't require the whole thing, just a small section of it.
But still, to chip the heart of Aros, it's Cynthia placed it above the throne himself. It would be
Well,
Well, yeah, but it's what we're trying to help him.
I'll
Look, we don't
consider
have
your
to.
request. It being something precious to my brother does give me pause, but I am not one to not see reason. I will take the night to think on it. Perhaps let the ale wear off a little. And
Naturally.
if I agree, I will send it with Bakala in the morning.
Speaking of which, I should probably go.
You need any advice on what clothes to pack?
My last night here.
No? Alright.
She just completely horse blinder straight walks out the hall.
In the meantime, Soleil has mixed up with the other common dwarfs to find someone you can have a conversation with. And I don't know how loud it was when they talked about Cynthia. Was it like the whole room because they seemed to like cheer and stuff when they heard his name?
Whenever Cynthia's name is mentioned, as long as it's, loud enough to hear, you notice that generally among the dwarves, people seem to at least raise their mugs.
Okay, I will try to ask the dwarf beside me after like trivial conversation, like, oh, this hiking Cynthia, what happened to him that he became a prisoner?
Oh, well, he's always been... he's always been a little bit more like his daughter. A little bit more... He was a great leader. Charismatic. Everyone would follow him out of, free will, even if he wasn't king. But it was also a little bit of a free, did whatever he wanted, sometimes. He was always there when he was needed, which is, I think, what a king should do. But he was, he did a couple of things that some people probably disagreed with. I don't think it was right that he should become prisoner for all the good he's done. I think if there was a scale that you would weigh all the good things against the bad things, it would always go further down on the good things, so I don't think that was right.
Sounds fair. What were some of the bad things he did? Oh, some of the
He's
good
a fire
things too.
breather. He'd maybe sometimes do a few trade agreements, a little bit manipulative, amassed quite a prosperous treasury. Didn't sit well with a couple of people. Oh, there's a couple of times you just burned something down. It's a fire breather.
Sounds
I
like
keep
a cool
hearing them
dude.
say fire breather. I'm just asking for our context in general, like for whoever is having that conversation. Does that mean anything to any of us?
I think out of everyone, the one that would have a closest idea of dwarven culture would probably be you or Red. And you could give me a history check if you can remember something so famous.
What do you mean? Hux basically is a dwarf.
Yeah. I speak Dwarvish, and
there's
dwarves like me, they-
yeah, I mean, perhaps not
It's a
Too much on.
19.
the history. Red, are you going to make a check?
Nope.
I'm just trying to figure out for context of our own knowledge of like,
you
is this
remember having heard
Rhett
that?
assumes this just like the other bards that fire breathe. He assumes this man just guzzles alcohol and sprays it.
You remember the term being mentioned back in the day, maybe in some sort of children's stories or something, but you can't really remember any details about it. More recently, you know that he called the cleansers also fire breathers, but that may have been more of an analogy.
right? Okay.
Soleil worked in a circus. He has the exact same thoughts as Red.
I mean, it's probably really powerful alcohol. Because he's a king or something.
I just needed to know, like, we keep hearing this phrase tossed around. I was just trying to figure out, is this like something we should know or not? It was all.
I'm
Or be able to make our own assumptions
I'm
from.
kind of tempted to do something with Soleil, like something like I'm kind of a fire breather myself and pulling out the flamethrower, but
Oh god.
but he's not doing it.
The hall has a little bit of a low ceiling.
I mean, Huxley's just picturing him like breathing fire like a dragon.
Mhm.
Then he's thinking about dragons. It'd be cool to have a dragon to ride on. Yeah. I can breathe fire.
Well, I've definitely never heard of a king that's also been breathing fire. Where I come from, that's usually something you see in a circus. Sounds like a cool king you have there.
Circus. Well, I mean, fire breathers are incredibly rare. It's not really a usual thing.
I mean, I've met a few.
High tier did not always have a king. We had Gesinthier leading us for a while. But way back in the day, the capital was Barotir. But much of the empire was lost in the Dwaraskar-Dour War. When Barotir fell, when there was the flood, a lot of people died, including the old High King. Sort of as one of the only large cities of dwarves remaining, High Tier became the capital. And Gesinthier, as consequence, became king. But I think, personally, if Gesinthier would have been king before, maybe Barotir wouldn't have been lost. We burned all those Dour down. That poison.
Did he become king because of or despite being fire breather?
Well, I was pretty young back then. I think he mostly became king because he was already a great leader of dwarf. I think being a fire breather was neither for or against in that case.
Funny thing about this is like Soleil still has no idea that this is not a normal person who breathes fire in a circus. So it's just confusing to him, and he just listens to the whole story and just nods and smiles, even though no one can see a smile because of the mask. And we'll just continue listening to these stories and we'll stay confused.
There was this one time, there is a lake at the foot of Mount Arath, and Cynthia had the trouble fishing. So he started just breathing fire at the lake and said, I will boil the entire lake to make a giant pot of soup. Of course it didn't work, but he created like a fog. And it was... It didn't sound as funny when I said it, but it was a...
That's an amazing idea.
Right, in theory, if the lake wasn't so large and mostly glacial water, which is freezing cold, perhaps, maybe it would have worked. But then again, probably a lot of fish would have been wasted.
Yeah, but you could like drink from the lake like it's soup.
Yeah,
Are
probably.
all lakes soups?
The wisdom of a druid.
Like, this is amazing.
And Soleil's just starting telling stories back that probably make no sense to them. Like something like, oh yeah, one of the fire breathers I knew left the circus, and then we named an elephant after him.
Oh my God.
You say a lot of weird things. What is a circus?
Oh, you've never heard
What
or
is
seen of a circus?
elephant?
It's like an Imchen, whatever it's called, a little bit.
Ichen Bano.
It's a little bit like that, but with less fur
Much smaller.
and smaller, but like similar species.
Ichen Bano is a fearsome beast. Probably very respectful to name after a fire breather.
Yeah, right. I always tell my friends it's super respectful to name like animals
Oh,
after friends,
no.
but they just don't get it.
It is a very good way to remember the fallen, I think.
Yeah, Saleha's got a better time than he thought he would.
Had a great time, and neither side understood any of what the other side.
Love it. Ah, this is so perfect. And still getting along.
Actually starts like as he drinks more and more because he just doesn't like he drinks the ale just like water. He drinks a lot. He'll just start rambling about lakes and soups and phoenixes and how it would be cool to have like a phoenix, or if he could turn into a phoenix. And just kind of ramble to himself.
At first, as you sort of begin talking, especially as you're talking about phoenixes, there is a couple of dwarves that seem to listen, but very quickly as your rambling becomes this sort of long-winded rant, the last few dwarves that were listening slowly begin to nod. And eventually, as the festivities continue, the hall grows emptier and emptier.
Right, well, we should probably make our departure.
Yep, I'm still bushed from the day.
Perhaps would you be able to put aside your musings for a moment so we can head back?
Yeah. What do you mean?
No, just, are you in the mindset to head back?
Looks over the table, and if there's not a lot of food left, he'll nod.
Around you, in general, the plates have gotten relatively empty. It's gotten to the point where some of the attendants have begun grabbing a couple of the desserts and sort of spreading them around. Much of them is also already gone, but there are, a couple fruits left here and there. It's relatively sparse, though, in comparison.
Yeah, he'll just nod and follow.
Wonderful. Keeping an eye on to make sure, based on how much he's had to drink, that he's not like stumbling everywhere.
I mean, he has a lot, but also I guess his con is very high, so.
No, which I'm aware of. I'm just saying.
A Constitution save.
I'm just keeping an eye. I don't know how much Huxley can drink, so she's just gonna keep an eye on it.
Rolling? I do have
You have to do the, like... What is it?
Oh. It
I think
says
it's
the
slash roll,
application.
and then there's like
Roll, and if you click on it, it's like a number of dice
Yeah.
sides.
It says the application that isn't reacting.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh.
Can someone troll for me?
Better not mess this one up. It'll be all your fault.
Go ahead, Rhett.
Why me?
Wow.
You have advantage, right?
I have advantage against poison.
I mean, it's definitely a poison.
Yeah, I need that.
Oh!
Holy shit!
Ah! Look at that.
No, this is nothing.
Natural 20.
There was this one time when you just like gathered a bunch of fruit on your travels, and they kind of all just started fermenting in your bag, and you didn't realize. You pretty much just like back then. I mean, you know, this is nothing to you. You've drank much more.
Amazing. Nicely done. See? I had faith.
You should
There was
always
that
roll
one
for
time
me.
when Huxley ate that entire magic mushroom. This was nothing compared to that.
Guess Saleh at some point also like joins you guys and leans over. So, Evelyn, apparently it's an honor to name ferocious beasts after friends who have left, or we are not together with at the moment. You guys have been wrong the whole time.
Really depends on the animal
You know, I mean,
that you're naming someone after. Like, again, if I named a random mutt that I came across Soleil, I would repeat, would you find honor in that?
Well, the circus animals weren't random mutts.
I don't,
Well,
I don't
the
know if you should be
circus is a
taking
whole different
advice
situation.
from people who don't know what a bank is. Can I just?
There is an honor in names, I am quite sure. It's just about how you do so and what the intent is behind it.
I get that.
Maybe it's a like ask the person first at some point.
Or
I'm directly asking you, please never name an animal after me.
agreed. I'll second that.
But hey, if Huxley wants you to name an animal, maybe that is an honor to Huxley, you know?
Didn't we already do that?
We kinda did. Huxley is basically made from Huxley's name.
There you go. Maybe it's just a personal preference thing.
Yeah, I don't get what you mean.
I think it's awesome. And I'm gonna pet Huxley, who's probably sitting somewhere in my cloak. I hope you learned a lot during that fight. One day. One day, it's you who's gonna kill everyone.
Oh gosh.
No.
Right. Do you have paper?
I do.
Can I have some?
Yeah, of course.
Runs for the toilet.
No,
Oh.
not that kind of paper. Like paper for drawing. Oh wait, I guess would it make more sense to ask Shelley about drawing?
Leia has better things for drawing. I have just kind of regular.
Oh
Like
yeah,
scrap
I
paper
wasn't
stuff.
thinking right. Shelley, do you have paper that I can have?
Yeah, sure, I have. You all usually have not just my notebook, but also one to spare. So you can have a page from that. You also need something to like write or draw?
Yeah.
I usually draw with coal, so I can hand you that if you want to.
Yeah.
Huxley says thanks and goes to the bathroom.
So yeah, also hand over a little piece of coal. And a piece of paper.
Just gonna take it. Without explaining. And like walk to his room.
A little bit slower than on your way there, you make it back to the inn and to your respective rooms. If there's anything you'd like to do before a long rest, you're free to do so. Otherwise, you long rest and level up. And as you do, I would say let's take a quick 5-10 minute break. I really gotta go pee.
Alrighty.
Okay.
I will be right back.
No one knows scrying, right?
No.
But greater restoration we have.
Yes, but I can certainly drop it.
I can cast it now.
I will keep that in mind. I can't switch it out this level, but I might think about that in the future.
So many of my 5th level spells have really expensive components.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
If
So-
you need diamonds or diamond dust, we just bought a lot, and I have it.
Yeah. Also, if I want to cast scrying, I need like a crystal orb.
Any of us have something?
Orb.
Have something what?
Do any of
The
us have
the spell
the
sending.
sending spell?
No.
Because Vidar
No.
seems to think we do.
Whoopsie.
I don't know why. I've never had it. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Can druids
Hey.
take sending?
I don't think so. Because I can just prepare them every day, but I don't think it was in-
Let's see, sending.
Cleric. Bard and wizard.
Too much stinky thing.
Mm-hmm.
He'll figure it out in 3 days. We once had a cleric.
You all have your long rest.
yeah, for flavor reasons, I think Soleil would, before going to sleep, jump into the slip and just stare at that floating god for like a while to reflect before going back.
Can you roll me a wisdom save?
Mm-hmm. But sure, I
Never
can.
get to say Soleil's level up.
A 13.
There's this moment when you sit and stare, where you imagine this thing walking around, that you almost fall into a sort of trance. And as you remember that you're not supposed to be here, you sort of just almost snap out of it. As if you were sort of napping off, dozing off. And you return. But you're not quite sure how much later it is.
Okay. I guess I will just immediately go to bed and hope not too much time has passed.
Okay. Red. few minutes after you wake up, as you're getting ready, there's again a knock on your door.
Be right there.
You hear this sort of muffled groan outside, sort of just.
Take this in the bag. Don't hit whatever invisible thing. Alright. Alright. So I'll open the door.
As you open the door, you see Bakala standing right before the door. Right in front of you, red-faced and grim-looking, as if she'd just spent the last hour or so screaming. She's clad in the same armor she was wearing at the feast. The only difference is that there is a giant backpack slung over her shoulders. I've got your metal. Are you ready yet?
I am. Let me get the others.
All the alloy is here in the greater bag of holding that Bakala glares over her shoulder, and the otherwise large for a dwarf looking Ingvar seems to shrink a little. Well, get them ready.
Excuse me. Yes. Well. I'll go around and knock around people's
Yeah,
doors.
Evelyn's probably up and moving already, packing things up.
Unless there's any trouble there. Yeah.
As you knock on Soleil's door, he is fast asleep.
Up on Adam, blue tiger.
Okay,
Oh,
a minute,
God.
maybe.
Was that crack your neck or your back?
Was that in character or off character?
I was in sorry, I just heard you like.
Yeah, that was my chair.
Oh, I thought that you were like cracking your knuckles.
I was leaning and at the side of to the side of the chair, and all of a
Oh.
sudden it went.
What was perfect timing?
Yeah.
Soleil,
Mhm.
could you give me a consent?
Mhm. Sure, I can. That's a good roll. It's a 23.
You feel like you could have easily slept another hour, but you start gathering your thoughts and you're ready to go. You're awake and you're rested.
Alright. I'll be right there. And he just crams all his stuff to his backpack and just starts preparing to leave. And as soon as he
Evelyn will
sees
have-
the what was the name again outside?
Buckler?
Bakala.
Bakala and Ingvar.
Yeah, he will nod at Bakala and be like, "Good morning, my lady princess."
She glares at you and does not say a word.
His face is behind a mask, but he probably smirking.
You don't happen to be a fire breather like your father, do you?
Nay, and honestly, sick of people asking.
I could probably teach you if you wanted. I mean, so.
Yeah, right.
Evelyn gives like a curious look at Red at that one, but doesn't.
Well, we learned it in college. I mean, I'm not an expert, but
Alright,
Well,
should
do
probably-
you have all your things, college boy?
You
Yeah.
can breathe fire.
Oh yeah, have I never showed you?
Bakala doesn't even really wait for you to
Yeah.
say that you're ready.
Yeah.
At this point, she just begins walking towards the door.
Evelyn will move to follow.
Red,
Yep,
do you know what all of this is about fire breathing? I mean, we've had quite a few in the circus, and it
That's what
didn't
I
seem
was
to be
thinking.
too hard. Like, you just spit a little bit of alcohol or a little bit of certain kind of powder into the flames and boosh. I even did it
I
when
mean-
I was like 11 to try it out. It was just boring.
Right. They must have some kind of like magical alcohol or something.
Probably.
Because they compared it to like the cleansers, so it must be pretty strong stuff they're spitting.
Oh, are you talking about Cynthia?
Yeah.
Ah, I see. You see, Dwarven fire breather. I've had right enough of you.
We're walking and talking.
Yeah,
we
walking
slow
and
down
talking.
While we're walking.
Walkie talkie.
You
You
leave
think you can outpace me?
the inn.
Yeah, I won't say that actually. Never mind.
And possibly for the last time, you wander through the city of dwarves.
Ooh, the
The
warehouse.
distance- Yes, of course. The distance between here and Polythreme might mean that returning here may be impossible. Regardless, you are not looking forward for months of travel to come back. Some of the aches of your muscles and bones still haven't fully left you.
Can I spend my 12 oil on useful? I don't know.
You what?
The rest of his
Have this
oil.
Oh,
Oil,
oil that I
oil
don't
currency.
Brett's
I
like,
mean-
I'll buy that, and I'll buy that, and I'll buy that as we
You
walk
just
by.
sort of walk past. There are a couple of stalls on the way. There is this sort of market area you pass by. And even though Bakala does not slow down, you could certainly spend the last few flasks of all you have on, bit of food, some amenities as you quickly walk
Rations
past.
or
Some
something
really
like
overpriced souvenirs. I don't know.
that.
And
He doesn't need it, like anyway.
as you arrive at the warehouse, you retrieve Vint.
Hmm?
Unchanged this time.
Thank goodness. And go and move on, ride on his shoulder once more.
The path south that Bakala leads you on is lightly guarded, and very quickly, pretty much immediately after the gate here in the south, leads into a steep tunnel winding upwards into the dome of mountain ceiling. There is about an hour of climbing these stairs that wind upwards in a wide circle, with a few breaks in between, mostly for an out-of-breath Bakala. But then you reach the outside.
Oh no, it's a black hole.
In front of you, as the tunnel widens and opens up to a large cliff, you see immediately a conical building of heavy stone slabs that sits on a relatively precarious cold cliffside, battered by the elements. Despite it being made of solid stone, the building looks like it has suffered greatly from the exposure. Many of the rocks look eroded and porous from years of punishing hard winds, carrying ice and sleet near horizontally. So, there we are. You know how to work this thing.
think that's. I'll leave that to Ingvar and Evelyn.
Well, I've been here. I'll be honest. I've been here once before. There is not really an entrance.
How not really an entrance?
Oh,
Just inside?
There's just no door. I've not been inside.
I'll make my way up and start kind of walking and flying around it, trying to see if there's any obvious or unobvious ways of entering it. Looking with my true sight for any signs, and I'll go ahead and use detect magic to see if there's any signs of entrance that way as well.
Hmm? Which way do you fly around? As you would get to the edge, there is an enormous wind blowing you back a little bit. It's a little bit harder to fly, but you manage to stem against it. Your vision is slightly obscured, but with your true sight, it's not really much of a problem. But even as you round the side, there is no entrance. Except as you round around here. It is not much of an entrance. It certainly doesn't seem intended. But there is a larger hole in the side of the structure. Presumably
inside.
the rocks here have crumbled due to an avalanche or maybe just the winds. From inside you certainly can sense a glow of magic.
And is this large enough for people to move through? My
For
soul?
people, it would certainly be large enough. Wind, though, may have a bit of an issue. Without you widening the breach.
I'm trying to steal the vent from me. I see what's going on here, Beggar. I'll call people around this way. But I guess I'll fly back around this way first, just making sure there's no other entrance points.
With your
Before.
detect magic and your true sight, you see nothing.
Okay.
The ordinary.
There's a part on the other side that seems to be caved in a bit that we can hide in from.
I'll
Alright.
lead them back around.
Has Vint come along?
Bint is coming too.
Good.
You really expect me to climb all the way up there?
It is kind
Vince
of a tight
can
squeeze.
give you assistance, and he reaches his hand down.
Prefer not to. I'll do it myself.
There we go.
Well then.
Very clumsily in, full plate and being a dwarf.
Vint will-
climbing the
Ellen will
slabs of
We
stone.
quietly tell Vint to be ready to catch her if she falls.
The rest of you make it up to the breach much faster, of course. And as you look inside, you see the inside of the building. You see a circular room, pillars on either side propping up this conical structure. On smaller pedestal in front of each pillar there is a small reddish-looking stone, and at the center of it all, a large stone circle. With your how far does your detect magic reach?
15 feet, so I have to move in a bit.
Okay.
I'll
You would
move in to
see
kind of...
that the glow of magic is mostly coming from these stones. As you get closer, the circle itself does not exude any magic.
How much larger do I need to make this hole for Vint to be able to crawl through?
So as I was saying,
Oh,
I was considering the other day what Soleil does with his ring. I'm pretty sure I could just replicate that for everybody. Yeah, he could just like shoobity-doop fly on in basically any size gap.
Turning into gas, you mean?
Yeah, right.
What would certainly work.
Rather than like tear down this whole structure, you know. I mean,
Sure.
all right.
It's
You too,
also
Ingvar.
one of my boots that does that instead of my ring.
Ingvar, you see at the edge, just immediately jumping. There's a sort of hiss as he lands on his prosthesis and lands relatively softly.
Yeah. He just Soleil just jumps down.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the
I'm not gonna
casting
jump.
of Windwalk, but I'm asking though. Just say yes to us helping.
Yeah,
If we're
sure.
okay, great.
I'm not going to jump.
Now you can do whatever you want. Anyway, I'm casting the spell on
Okay.
everybody around here.
Wind
Because it
walking.
lasts for 8 hours.
You see Bakala sort of float inside this amorphous cloud gas. And then just kind of hang in the air for a little bit. Instead of turning back immediately, you see her just kind of circling around for a moment, very slowly.
Everyone will call for Vint to come in. And I guess he just floats in. Hangs out off to the side.
That's gonna be so much easier than trying to get him in places.
This rock fell on the ground, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Can I work on casting Identify on it? To see if I can't make any sense of it?
Yeah. As you would look at this rock, you get a strong sense of evocation, man. There is something intermixed in this very bright glow of evocation magic that's almost a little bit more akin to what you are looking for. Which is, I totally know that, right here. Totally. Which
Conjuration?
would be...
Conjuration for like teleportation?
Yes, conjuration.
Okay. So a smidge of conjuration.
You see Ingvar already going around studying the circle. I had wondered how he made this circle. But at the time, for a long time, talking to the king about Vidar was somewhat a touchy subject to broach. The sign is actually quite close to the planar gateways. See, the circle serves in place of the sphere, two-dimensional spatial transfer rather than the overlap the sphere produces. Stones around the pillar are in place of the stone ring, I assume, but it seems more ritualistic. There aren't any runes of the ancient languages. These stones, they're more like fetishes linking to the elemental player of fire. Of course, it's a roundabout way, a detour around the interference, but it'll be safe from the blight. I'll be studying this thoroughly after I send you, of course. Let's do that first.
Of course.
We're going.
Evelyn looks
where?
torn, like listening to all of this, like no, we could like there was a moment of like, no, let's just stop and study it now, and like she's like, no, of course, you have to wait till you send us away. Does she get anything from identify from the stone specifically?
From identify, you would get an extremely strong sense of just magic existing within the stone, but there's no specific spell attached to it.
And she will carefully, after a moment of gazing around, to make sure she doesn't think it should activate immediately, but she's gonna carefully pick up the stone, unless she can see something that it would trigger it, picking up the stone and placing it back on the pillar.
You pick up the stone, and as you place it on the pillar, there's definitely a sort of magic response from the pedestal that you place it on. But in the larger room, there is
Okay.
no response. Oh,
Right.
appears to me that, well, maybe they're not all in place correctly. Some of these runes as well. Maybe
Like-
the wind, the cold.
It maybe need some fire to connect it to like.
No,
balance?
it's not that. It's not mundane. It all just needs to be in the right place, and I think it'll snap on, like a switch. You have those, right? Like it's
Yeah.
yeah, like a lever.
Like, glance at the runes he's talking about?
Roll me an Arcana check.
That would be a 28.
You study the runes intently. They do seem familiar to you. They are definitely a sort of invocation of a teleport, but a little bit more complex. There is this sort of planar connection in this row of runes that follow along the outside of the stone circle. With a 28, you would be able to deduce the general position each of the pillars needs to be in. Most of the pillars are already in place, ready for the teleport. Except, of course, the one underneath the bridge. You can see that a few pieces of rubble have fallen down and likely not only knocked the stone off the pedestal, but also moved the pedestal a little bit away from the pillar. There's also a tiny break alongside the side of the pedestal, you know. A sort of hairline fracture.
Ingvar, I think it's this pillar that's out of place and it's a bit fractured, so it needs to move back.
Well, that would make sense. I'm the only one here that would.
Would it make sense to me if that fracture would cause problems with the magic or not?
You know that magic is extremely precarious. Partially the reason why it's not that easy to invent a new spell is because as soon as the incantation is a little bit wrong, things can go wildly awry. So it's possible, but it might also be nothing.
If it helps, sometimes mending restores things to their originally intended places. I realize it's magical, so it might not work, but thought I'd offer.
We could certainly give it a go.
If you don't think it'll hurt it, sure.
As far as I'm aware, it shouldn't hurt it, right? It depends. It's sort of like if you had a scroll with a bunch of words on it, you cast mending on it. It's gonna fix the paper, but it's not gonna write back the missing words.
Mm-hmm.
But it might connect the words, and in a way that wasn't supposed to be there before.
Right. But at least the paper will be in the right place. Right?
You can give it a shot.
So I'll try to like do mending. Like first on the kind of structure of the floor around it. If it looks like that might be damaged and out of place.
There are certainly cracks in it. Larger pieces of rubble lie around the pillar, not directly. The pillar itself is not crushed. It's still sort of holding up these pieces of rubble that are at the top.
Have Vince working moving some of the rubble away,
Oh,
and I'll follow him over to try and shift some of the rubble safely away from the pillar.
Mm-hmm. You remove a couple pieces of the rubble and begin fixing some of the cracks in the stone floor.
and then once it feels like it's back in its intended place, try to actually cast mending on the pillar itself.
Do you mend the pillar or the pedestal?
Which one has
I'll
the
start
hairline
at the
fracture?
The
I'll start at
pedestal.
the bottom and then work my way up. So yeah, we'll pedestal eventually then.
You cast mending on the pedestal and the hairline fracture does disappear. You do your best to also fix up the pillar, which in and of itself doesn't have a lot of damage. Where a couple of pieces of rubble must have probably fallen against it from the side, there are a couple of chinks in the marble of the pillar, but aside from that, there is remarkably little damage to it.
Looks like it's back in its intended place, at least.
Hopefully that makes it easier.
You see Ingvar looking at the pedestal for a little bit, and then he just grabs it on the sides and rotates it a little bit, and immediately, with your detect magic still up, you see light fill the room. And the rest of you also see a light as the circle at the center begins to glow.
I'm just going to take a minute to kind of mentally note everything down that she's seeing with this sort of half grin on her face.
Oh, there we go. That should end. Some finer adjustments. The connection seems stable. I think it's pretty much ready.
Right.
Right.
So we have a map of like the other side or anything.
Do you?
It's heading to the mountains near Polythreme. Presuming there's no interruptions in the bridge, is my understanding.
Oh, okay. It's a one shot type of gotcha.
Would have preferred studying it more when it was active, but yes, it looks like once it's gone through, it'll be gone. But this could be a permanent solution. I'll, another time.
Are there any notes or anything you need to take beforehand before I leave?
No. He sort of looks at the clouds to the side where Bakala is starting to take form.
Mhm.
Well, yeah. Let's just well, everyone who's going, bring everything you need, everything you want with you. Bakala, good luck. Bring him back to us, and you. There's just a grunt from Bakala in response.
I'll make sure Vent is like crouching in case wherever we go is not a high ceiling. And she's just gonna stay on his like foot and like how to say move into the space.
Right then. Is everyone ready?
Delay coming.
Yeah.
Okay. Breathe in deep. You're going through the plane of fire. If you feel warm, that's good. Feel hot, that's probably bad. So, here we go. You see him sort of just rubbing his hands together. Good luck. Just as Ingvar's hand reaches to the edge of the circle, everything stops and turns gray. Just for you, Evelyn.
Oh,
Gosh darn it. This
the old
vision
man.
do it again.
as things turned grey, shifted a little bit.
I'm over in Kieran's eyes again.
You look around your periphery, really unable to turn your head. You are, in fact, looking through Kieran's eyes.
It's like, hey, he's normally hanging on to me.
Faintly, you hear tap, tap, tap. Footsteps resounding just off of your side. And a figure bleeds from the shadow. Good luck? Luck is a funny concept. It implies a lot about the world. Slowly, the old wizard steps towards the circle in your view and leans down. You're going to worry about her, your friend. He looks directly at you as he says that. Or at least the others will worry. You see his hand brush over the circle and a few of the runes change shape.
I can't remember. Have I communicated from here before in this position?
You were unable to.
Okay, that's fine.
You are currently unable.
That's fine.
But don't worry. She is well on her path. And she's doing something very important. He looks at the circle for a moment, satisfied with the changes, and leans back up. Here. There we go. And he blinks out of existence abruptly. Much less gracefully than his appearance, and all color immediately returns.
So, motherfucker.
You have no time to react.
All that you would hear
Yes.
would probably be like,
Ingvar's
son of a...
hand stops mid-flight, touches the circle. Look! And everything goes dark.
Oh no. Where are we gonna?
Hear like a mid curse, like coming from like as it just cuts off entirely, like.
For each one of you, everything goes black. Suddenly. You feel nothing around you. You are ready to move. You feel time passing by and you're just standing in darkness. Is there anything you do?
Can I still feel Vince's leg, like under my hand, or no?
You feel nothing.
She is personally just continuing her rant of cursing out this being that just taunts her. Does she have Kieran?
He's not there. As you curse, you also hear no response from your compatriots. You
I
don't
would
hear
like
each
to
other.
sing to the darkness.
Hello,
As
darkness,
I'm
my
assuming it's
friend.
just teleporting. Exactly. That's exactly what happens. He's like, all right. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah, Saleh's just gonna check out. Is this the slip? Like he's like, this is kind of like it and kind of not. Where am I? What is this? Confused.
Interestingly enough, you do feel as if there was some sort of momentum on you. It's not nearly as satisfying as the slide into the slip. It almost feels like you're going in slow-mo comparatively. Slowly, starting from your fingers, you start to feel warm. And then you start to feel very, very hot.
Not a good sign.
With a sort of you suddenly feel cold. It is dark around you, but through cracks in stone, you see a little bit of light coming in. Combined with the light still emanating from the circle, you see around you the room almost identical to the one you just left. Except all the pillars are in place. There is no rubble on the ground. There is no hole in the ceiling. It's cold. There are edges of frost melting from this warmth that sort of came with you as you sprung back into existence. And you all see each other standing in the circle. Kieran on your shoulder,
Yeah,
Vint
Evelyn
at your
just
back.
grabs Kieran from her shoulder, like just kind of like holding him close to her chest for a moment, and just kind of focusing on that, for, like just taking a moment and making sure Kieran is with her.
That was different.
Right, well, it was hot. Probably fine now. We have arrived, it looks like. Now,
I think I can see a little, some kind of light through a little crack up there.
I also do see a problem. Yeah, it's like the other thing. There's no door.
You do see a crack up there, though, right?
Well, there's cracks everywhere in the stone, but there's no door.
Yeah, do the gas. Come on, lady. Come on. Yeah, I'm gonna start turning in the gas.
Oh. I suppose we could just go through the crack. Okay, Red and Bakala turn again into.
Everybody has this capability.
Yeah, you
Yes,
could. It takes a
everybody.
minute, I think,
Yeah.
to revert back and forth. But
You slowly turn small. And
Everyone turns to dust.
outside, you see another cliff. It looks similar, so similar that if the very stone wasn't completely different, you might have assumed you'd still be in the same place. But very clearly, this is not the same mountain.
Shouldn't we be able to see Polythreme from here?
At the moment, there are all around you just cliffs of.
is there heavy cloud cover?
It is currently snowing, at least where you are.
I'll do a little loop-de-loop and... I mean, it looks like there's a path of some kind.
There's a sort of canyon that stretches from the other side of a large cleft in the rock, further into or out of the mountain.
I guess I'll start drifting that way. I don't know.
Okay.
See if other people come along.
Does every other cloud of gas follow?
It
Yeah.
takes Ellen a moment before she like kind of shakes herself and follows.
As this sort of long streak of clouds of gas, you continue your trek through this canyon. Slowly but surely, the sides of the canyon to either side begin to slope down until you come to the end of the cliff. The edge of a mountainside that stretches far below you until it reaches the ground. And indeed, in the distance, you see a familiar mountain of black iron. City of Polythreme. With the speed you currently have as clouds, if you continue your travel, you'd likely reach the city within 2 days.
You sure?
Right, he should get to move on, I suppose, right?
Didn't Vidar tell you to use some kind of spell now to contact him?
Right, he said sending, which isn't ability I have, and I don't think any of us do. So we'll just have to travel and make our way, and likely we should be back in a few days prior to Vidar reaching out to us.
Seems very badly thought through by him.
And
To
it
just
could have been
assume.
something else, but the connection was a bit rough there.
Conveniently, yeah.
I'm just happy to see the city again.
I'd
True.
like to get back.
I'll
She
be glad
starts
to be
moving.
out of these mountains and away from weird teleports. I assume everybody was just in the blackness in that teleport and it was hot, but it was okay. Yeah.
As clouds, you float down the mountainside, immediately cutting short what probably would have been a larger portion of your travel. As you reach far below the line of trees that begin to grow alongside the mountain, as you see the plains that stretch around Polythreme in various states of harvest and resowing, you feel the warmth rising up to you. During this first day of travel, you already have a line of sight on the mountain of metal in the distance. Polythreme rising amidst the wide plains is incomparable to any other landmark in existence. Is there anything you would like to do in these 2 days of travel?
Yes, before we... If I could keep a, clock on this 8 hours, it's very important that I land and set up our house before we transfer back.
You need to set up the house before you turn back, or do you just mean landing? Oh, I see.
Get him in. So it seems probably a little premature that the rat cloud starts swirling around like it wants to
You sort of descend the mountain, and as soon as you waft through the fields and sort of reach the edge of one of the roads leading back towards Polythreme, the red cloud sort of begins circling and stopping. Even as some of the other clouds continue for a moment, they stop. And you are the first to turn back.
I'll wait for everybody. I realize it's a little early, but we're going faster than the clouds. And I think this is the only way to get vent in the door to this place I made. For our camp.
Right.
So let me set it up and I'll cast a spell. And we just gotta get him in the door while it's a cloud. Okay. I hope everybody's liking. It's taken quite a while.
Amazing.
It's beautiful.
As Red casts a spell on the ground, you see rising from the ground, almost as if forming from the earth and the stones, a doorway appear at the roadside.
That is a very strange place for a building like this.
The building goes wherever we want it to.
Oh, is that your doing? That is...
Yeah.
That is certainly something. Where did you learn that?
In my dreams. Literally. Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, we've been planning it. We talked about it, you know.
Yeah.
Don't worry, your room is full of pillows.
Oh. I like it. And is that a fucking hot bath I see here?
It is.
Holy
It's a
shit,
swim
you
up
are
bar.
the best, Red. Seriously.
And there's invisible servants, and see, he hops right into the bar. And then pulls the drink off the
There
bar.
are like training spots, and oh boy, I love it
Yeah,
here.
I couldn't figure out how to get a live horse for you to ride, but, you know.
Oh, there's the fucking... Oh my god.
So,
This is perfect
couple
for
days
training.
ago, Jess asked me, since I have access, if I messed with the map
I was like,
or
I
why
just,
there was a rocking horse.
Why is there a horse?
I'm like, no,
I know you gotta
exported it
practice.
to
You
do
gotta
some light.
practice riding. I know, you know, but like,
And he will.
yeah,
Oh no! Oh no!
it was Red's
Evelyn,
best idea.
Evelyn has been relatively quiet the entire trip, but at this point in time, she will like kind of brighten up a bit. Rhett, this is
You're
really
all on the
impressive.
basketball there, man. Oh, thanks.
Oh, well, this is pretty nice.
We got a room in the back. It's the spare bedroom. We just got to pull some stuff out of it. I didn't know you were coming along at the time. I was thinking about it, but it's too easy.
Ah,
And
Right.
there's like a bedroll back there that can't be set up.
Just oh,
The robot.
Bobby is robot.
No, everyone is robot.
What? Oh,
No, everyone is robot. Everyone went silent. Hello?
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 Oh, it's
Hello?
back.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Oh my god.
That
Okay.
was horrible.
Well,
I have no idea what that
well,
was.
well. I mean, honestly, wasn't too bad of time. I was just about to write something. It's not
Eh.
absolutely horrible timing
I think we're
Fair.
good.
because we are pretty late.
Yeah.
I thank everyone for accommodating me from my blunder. But I think it's probably a really good time to call it here.
If
As
you
you are
just want to
in
leave
front
it
of your return home.
up. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And there is also something I wanted to ask, which is, as you return to the city, of course there'll be, you know, a little bit of initial stuff to take care of, which probably take a session or two. But afterwards, you will likely have what I've never done in a D&D session before, which is a good amount of downtime.
Mhm.
And my question would have been if you guys would have wanted that to be something you just send me in a message or a session you would like to do. I personally have no preference.
Could do this either way.
Maybe
I mean, you don't also need to
both?
decide right now. You can just
Yeah.
think about it.
Mhm.
Next session, there's likely going to be enough for you to still do stuff, but just keep a, think about
Yeah.
it. And also, you can already, of course, think about what you guys would want to do in your downtime as well.
Yeah.
Well, venerable swordsman to get some money.
I think I think there's probably things we'll want to do together, but then also separate
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
Because we could definitely say, like, send a message of, like, here are the things that I'm wanting to do, but based
Yeah.
upon, like,
I
maybe
would
what
say then
happens
after
next session.
sort of the session where we end for the downtime,
Mhm.
you just send me the stuff you wanted to do alone, and then as we start next session, we can wrap the things that you do together, and then if it's short, we just start up again with you coming out of downtime.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then thank you guys so much for session,
Thanks,
you.
Bagger.
Thank you.
and
I love this map.
yeah,
You might
it is
leave it
Although
perfect.
we need like a guest room variant.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah, true.
Just a
we
room of
can,
bunk
we can
beds.
work on it a little bit more. But
If
yeah, getting a restroom ready, with 100 servants at your disposal,
Yeah.
not an issue at all.
Mhm.
I mean, she can be glad that she's invited in this house, okay?
I made a little area just for Suxley. That's
Yeah.
Oh no! Perfect.
and some raw meat for Suxley.
Exactly. We'll have such a good time.
Why is there just a thing of chains?
This is Slay's room, so
Yeah, but
it was.
is the chains?
He had it in his last
I
room.
mean, yeah, they were
Oh,
on,
yeah.
on the shelf because, like, he
He has, like,
at some
crabs
point
and
bought
things.
like
Yeah, I
bought like
remember.
shackles and chains just in case they
He's
wanted
very
to
I
catch
just,
someone.
I'm not judging.
Red
I'm
doesn't
just
know either. He's just
asking.
been in Soleil's room. It's like there's just chains everywhere. I guess he gets chains.
He bought one fucking
yeah, I
chain
forgot.
to
The-
chain someone
I
down in
also
case
need to,
we.
like
He's the
represent a
chain
trap.
man now.
Yeah, okay, I
That's what he's
guess.
known for now.
You can. There wasn't a trap icon. So it's
Can we change my whip
trap.
to be like more like a whip chain?
I mean, it's a Silver Eagle weapon. It's
Yeah,
probably
there we
somewhat
go.
metallic to begin with.
There we go. It's that's the chain I'm using the whole time. It has pillows. That is all I need.
I didn't really know specifically what Oxley wanted.
Yeah, just all kinds of
But
clothing.
furs and animal
Everything he finds
furs.
interesting.
Needs a collection of rocks in the corner at least.
Yeah.
Although there's one thing that's Huxley doesn't need, like that's clothes.
It might be interesting
That's true.
collected though, you know.
We found this other dead dwarf.
But there's a horse.
I'm just entertained that this training area is
The
like,
rocking horse.
you've got you can practice arrows, you can ride your horse, you can fight, or you can just lay down and read a book.
You can just lay down and read a book. Yeah.
You just read a book in the right behind you. Just hear thunk, 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 clang.
And right next
Well,
to that is the
that's Soleil's
piano.
area. That's the like his drawing.
What you'd see
Ah.
through this wall
Mm.
of glass, by the way, would just be forest.
Mhm.
Very
Just
cool.
endless forest.
Well,
So,
you know,
so this is the like Soleil
It's
zone.
like a moving painting-ish, right?
Yeah.
like slowly scrolls by. Oh god.
All the music.
Yeah.
Great.
And Evelyn doesn't get to isolate herself.
I just noticed that.
That's good.
And yeah, she's got to be out in public just to be able to mess with things. Thankfully, you can't see the things she wants to mess with.
I know, right? I'll just see her like working on the hair. What the hell?
Of all the people in the world,
Convenience.
Abelin has to get the phoenix egg.
Yeah, I honestly didn't think too much about that.
Listen, I need immortality.
Yeah.
Okay?
I know. We all know by now.
Yeah.
This is a good chance of getting towards that.
I mean, yeah, if you think about immortality and mythical creatures, I guess phoenix is the first thing that comes to mind.
Mhm.
If we get some fish, this could be a fish soup.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And at this point, I'm gonna go and grab something to eat. But, yeah, I'll see you guys next regular session, I think.
This tub is enormous. Sorry. I'll
Definitely try to not
Listen, we
mess
like
up
baths here.
scheduling for next time.
It's the 25th next, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, just a little warning. There is
I
a
mean-
chance I might be like 30 minutes late or something on that day.
Okay.
Because I'm
How
gonna
could
have
you?
gonna go
Also,
to
I'm
dinner.
gonna say it now. Half of you know, anyways. The weekend in June, the first one, I'll probably not be around. So I'll be.
You wouldn't be in America or something. Oh yeah.
I'd be in America.
America! Fuck yeah.
I'm stealing the DM.
It's fine.
Let's
It's
go.
one of each of my sessions that's gonna be cancelled for now.
I stole him for 3 days too, so that's fine.
Oh yeah. I think I won't be here on like April 22nd, probably.
Yeah.
I can't imagine why.
Just
Yeah.
make sure to let me know, like, a week in advance. Think should be
Well,
fine.
yeah, I'll know like in a month or so, probably.
Yeah.
Most
Okay.
likely.
Well, I'll catch you guys next time, and thank you again for
What was it? April
being able
22nd?
for- What was it?
April 22nd, you said?
Yes, yes.
Well, that's great
the
because I
second
can't
child.
make it there anyway too. So that's actually
Wow,
good.
How convenient.
That's actually
That's why I decided to have a
Alright.
second kid.
So even if you hadn't said anything, I wouldn't have been able to make it there. So
There you go.
Okay. Thank you for being available for a late session, everyone. And
Of course.
those of you who are going to bed, I wish you a very good